Hello and welcome to the Two Ace Podcast, the podcast designed to help you manifest your Two Ace mindset. My name is Josh Brooks and my one focus is success through the art of discipline and flow. I hope you enjoy the episode. Now let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. I'm joined by Hao here, and she is the leading psychic surgeon I'm now speaking to today. Today we're going to be talking about African quantum healing and sort of how to embody your true purpose for maximum impact. So Hao, welcome. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So I just want to kick this off. So I believe you're very energetic. You think of things in terms of frequency. Have you heard of the Nikola Tesla quote that says, "Think of things in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration"? Because it seems like you already do that. Just like to get your sort of in-depth perspective on that, if that's all right.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna start this with greetings. I just love doing this because somehow it activates something and it's also connect me to my ancestors or home because I come from Botswana in Southern Africa, but I live here in Germany. So dumelang, dumelang lokai. And dumelang is the greetings that we use back home in Botswana. And dumelang in direct translation is agree. So we are here with Josh at 2A's podcast. So when you come in here, what are you agreeing to? What is it that you are open to receive? What is it that you are open to be penetrated by? Because we are being penetrated by something bigger than just our genitals. It's words, it's conversation, it's energy, because our energy says hi before we can we can say anything. So what are you agreeing to? And with that said as well, we are very good at learning. We learn a lot of stuff, but we are not good at unlearning. But for any
Mm.
transformation to happen, unlearning needs to happen. So where are you? That is lokai. When we greet each other back home is dumelang lokai, as in like, where are you? Are you here? Body, mind, and heart. Or it's just the body that is here, but your mind is running many miles somewhere. You're thinking about the bills that are not paid, you're thinking about the conversation that you had, the conflict that you had, and all that. And with that said, I'm just inviting you to be here with us not knowing anything. Both of us were just in a blank state to see where we're going to be led. And when you don't know anything, you're not going to tell your mind what to think, but you're going to allow your body to communicate with you. There may be a sensation, there may be a twitch, there may be a trigger, but you're not going to label it or anything, because when you do that, you are tapping into the history of what you know, and you're going to interpret the way you have interpreted it before, because what pains us most is the interpretation of our stories. When somebody leave you, what are you telling yourself? That I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, and all that. And is that true? Not always. Actually, it's never true, the truth of it. It may just be that, okay, your path has ended and now you have to go and explore, which may be calling you to new experiences. So let's just start with that, because like you said, I work with the body, mind, and heart. I'm a freedom illuminator. I'm a human MRI psychic surgeon. And as I'm speaking about that, as we just started, the first thing that came through was, it's quite interesting because it took me deep into the patriarchal wound. It took me into the wounded masculine. That's kind of like where it went. Like it went to the wounded masculine, which shows that it's also something that is somehow ancestral. This is why I'm like patriarchy, because patriarchy made men powerless by shattering of their hearts, and it made women powerless by shattering of their womb. And as much as I went to the wounded masculine, it also took me to the feminine, which is kind of like receiving. And it's quite interesting because if you are functioning from that wounded masculine. And this is not about men or women, because we all have that, the masculine and feminine energy. So if you are functioning from the wounded masculine, that is like, I'm a hustler. You are busy doing. You don't get to be, you are not even open to receiving, because it's kind of like, I have to go, go, go. And it's coming from fear, it's coming from not feeling safe. So it's not surprising that this true energy came through, and it's kind of like, it's you are scattered, like the energy is like, and then what came through as well, I was brought back into the pelvic area. That's like where the energy just went in the beginning. And when I'm talking about the pelvic area, it's still that sexual energy, is that creation, is the creativity, is the presence, is the pleasure, is really, like I said, our sexual energy is the healing energy, and it's also connected to our purpose, which is
Hmm.
also one of the things that I do. When you connect to yourself and you connect to all this energy, you cannot, the universe cannot help it, but it's going to make space for you to give birth to your desires. And you're going to also have the capacity to give birth to what is it that your soul is here to give birth to.
Nice. Wow, that was a lot just coming from that one question. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I like how you mentioned being here. I feel like being here, this like the present moment. That's something that I've tried to work on a lot recently. Is because literally, like you said, you can find yourself just your body's here, but your mind's just completely elsewhere. Then you sort of
Yeah.
snap back to, it and it's like, whoa, I'm here. Does that thing matter? I'm really just here. It's yeah, yeah, it was really special. Thank you. So I'm guessing you sort of know about like the chakras then, because they sort of interest me in the like the frequency chakras that you can listen to, how they have different um, different like level hertz. The root chakra up to the crown chakra. In your work, do you kind of like relate to them at all? Because I remember in a previous episode that I've listened to you on, you mentioned how like the sexual energy chakra is like the highest energy chakra or the highest sort of state. But from my knowledge, um, the root chakra is the lowest chakra, it's the lowest frequency. So I just wanted to try and understand what sort of your perspective is on that, because from my, I was a bit confused with the, alternating knowledge kind of there,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean.
Okay, I actually love that question, because when I talk about, like, for instance, I'm talking about the sexual energy, right? I'm talking about, and we can just go to say, okay, fine, it's the sacral, so we're talking about this level, you know. But when I say it's the highest energy, I'm not looking only at the energy center. The energy may be like, for instance, sexual energy. It's kind of like it's where it is in our body. Isn't like there's like the area where it's kind of like whether it's dormant or whatever, it's there. But when you have held and it's flowing, it doesn't just stay there, it flows through us. And this is like the energy that also gets to accelerate our ascension. You understand? So it
Yeah.
also gets to, because it's a life force energy, this is the energy that we get
Ah,
to
yeah.
create from, for us to feel alive, for us to say yes to life, is this energy when we feel turned on. And I'm not talking about the sexual energy as in like we're gonna have sex, as in like the sexual activity. I'm talking about you being fully alive. I'm talking about you being connected to life. Like I said, let's make love with life. That means I'm gonna be connected to my desires, and connected to my purpose, and connected to my self-expression, whether it's like creativity, however that your soul desires to express whatever that you're experiencing. It's also connect us to the beauty of life. So when this energy, when I say it's the highest frequency, it's kind of like that's where creation happens.
Yeah, I
That's
get you.
where creation happens. And we know, even when it comes to us making a child, because life is all, it's all about like, that's it, we are making something. So
Yeah, well,
we,
it's very
whether it's a
cyclical, isn't
child,
it?
exactly, whether it's a child or whatever project, whether you're writing a book, whatever that you're creating, that's creation that is happening. And it starts from that desire. What am I going to do with this energy that is coming through? How am I going to express it? You can, it can be the art, it can be the music, because it's that energy that you are transmitting at all times. So if this is blocked, is dormant, this is why a lot of people find themselves depressed. This is why a lot of people have those suicidal thoughts, because this energy is not flowing. So
Mm.
I'm just coming from there, not necessarily that it's kind of like, because, and this is also the whole thing, even when you're talking about, it's not like level, right? Which is like the hierarchical thing that we are taught. Like there is
Yeah, yeah,
that means that is better or higher. It's kind of like it's not that. As much as I can talk to you and say you are the amazing being, you are magnificent, you are a king and all that. Does it mean other people are not kings? No. And
Yeah.
of course, you may not be a king if you are not willing to embrace who you are. You are unique, and so is everyone. We are one, but it does not take us our uniqueness, right?
Mm.
So if there's a role that this energy plays, and there's a role that every energy plays, but it doesn't mean that the crown chakra is more important than the root chakra, or the root chakra is more important than the crown chakra. They work together because life
Yeah,
is
of course.
interconnected. One thing feeds into the other. And when the other one is out of alignment, it's gonna also off balance other energetic centers.
Mm. Got you. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's sort of like the answer I was sort of hoping that you'd sort of say, like, it's all about interconnectedness. I like how you said, the hierarchical aspect of it. It doesn't really matter. It's not necessarily about a hierarchy. It's just,
Yeah.
like I said, they all work together, kind of thing. Um, and like you said, you mentioned how, like, I am king. I also picked up the you are queen in that other episode that I listened to. So I just want to ask you about, like, the power of I am, because I've heard, and I believe that just saying I am before something is like such a powerful concept. Um, so from, like, a psychic sort of point of view, psychic surgeon point of view, how do you use, like, I am to sort of, like, affirm, like, your dreams and, like, your direction, kind of thing?
Hmm. That's a great question, and I love it because even when you're looking at the law of attraction and all that, is talking about that. And for me, as much as we're talking about energy saying a lot of things, yes, what we say to us is very important. That I am is very important. What is it that you are affirming? What is it that you are proclaiming? What is that you are commanding when you are saying that? Which is still, it comes back to you commanding, affirming in the present moment. This is what I am and all that you desire. But here's also the thing that I also want to note, even when it comes to all those affirmations. The affirmations are great. I love them. But on the other hand, if you're running with the affirmation and you are not connected to the body, for
Mm,
instance, if I say I'm a queen, what does that activate? You understand? I'm not just saying it just for the sake of saying, I fucking feel it
yeah.
with every cell of my being. You understand? And it doesn't matter. And I always tell people this: if I was homeless, you find me in the street, I don't have a home. I'm fucking eating from the dustbin. And you meet me. You're gonna
Mm,
say, I don't know who the fuck she thinks she is, because I'll still be in my element,
yeah.
not because of what I have. It's just who the fuck I am. You understand? So it's
You know.
that energy that you embody without an attachment to anything. So
Mm,
when you connect to that, even when we say in those affirmation, the question is, do you feel it? Because for you to heal anything, you get to feel it. For you to manifest anything, you get to feel it. And if you are disconnected from your body, you can say your affirmation from 6 to 6. But if you're actually, at times, it kind of like create a conflict, because you saying what you're saying, but then there is war that is happening within you, because it's kind of like, you fucking kidding, what you talking about? And if you are aware, even present enough, at times, at times you can hear that. I mean, I still remember this. There was a time when I was just sitting, and then I said, I am God. And I had this voice saying, not really. Yeah. That was like, okay. So when you are present enough, even when you're saying that, see what is happening. At
mm,
times you may just get like literally a knee-jerk reaction where your knee just like moves. Like, okay. Then there is a part of me that does not agree with that. And I still remember, even something like 5, 6 years ago, where I'm busy doing this work, and I'm just kind of like, I'm abundant, I'm prosperous, I'm talking about all these things, and then the next thing I just hear this voice, I don't like money. You know that?
mm,
Yeah. So when you say it, the most important thing, be in the body. And it's not like when those aspects where, like I said, 80% of the thing that we feel is not ours. So probably it's your ancestors, probably it's aspects of yourself, probably it's something, maybe somebody for instance, there's a negative entity as well. So if a negative entity is there and is influencing how you feel, what you think, and all that, you're gonna have that, especially that at times, even how do you talk to yourself? You know, for instance, you may be sitting there, of course, you may have doubts sometimes and all that, and then all of a sudden you're saying to yourself words that you never use, because even maybe you swear sometimes or a lot, but even if you're swearing, you never call yourself certain names, but then all of a sudden that word is coming through, and it's kind of like, if you're not present enough, you may just think like that's just you. But if you know how you normally talk, you'll know that this is not me. Or even if one of the voice from your parents or caretakers is coming through, are you able to discern? So that's what I would say with this. As much as you're saying it, as much as they're important, the question is, can you feel it? And it's not
Mm.
even about one thing that I just want to the myth that we tell ourselves. We think that it's just the whole positive, negative, and all that. Of course, the words matters and they carry a certain frequency, but the most important thing is, how do we relate to that word? For instance, I'll give you an example even with myself, where the other time I just did something, I posted it, and everybody was like, "Oh, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you." If I was not connected, I was just gonna like, oh, thank you, because it sounds good. But I just responded to two people,
Mm.
and then I
Yes.
stopped because my body, the pain that was coming through, I was not receiving that. And when I took a break and I'm like, I'm feeling saddened, but there's nothing negative that these people are saying. And I connected with an aspect of myself that has been looking for validation for years. I wanted to hear that from my mother. And when
Mm.
these people were saying that, I was feeling sad because my mother has long been gone. I'll never get that from her. So that was a calling to say, connect to the aspect of yourself that is still looking for validation, and give yourself that, because you're
Yeah.
not gonna get it. Like, no matter how somebody is saying something, I won't receive it until I receive it from myself. So at
Yeah.
times you are
Exactly.
not able to receive love and all those compliments because you may want it from somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Self acceptance and like self sort of love, self mastery is I think it's a high priority for everyone, or it should be. I think there's actually a quote that I've got written on my whiteboard, and it's in red. It says the mastery of self, and I really like that because it sort of it pushes me to sort of only really focus on the self. Like yeah, it's important what other people think, but at the end of the day, it's only the self that it impacts. If you know what I mean. And you mentioned positive and negative energy there as well. And I just want to ask about sort of what do you think of the relationship of positive and negative energy? Because I like to think of it as sort of yin and yang. You can't have good without dark. You can't have dark without light. And I feel like negative energy, to an extent, is more powerful than positive energy because it can spark change. If, like you said, you mentioned there, if you were homeless and you had nothing, like you're on the streets, but you still thought that you were queen or that you're king, you're surrounded by all this negative energy, but there's that little bit of light within you that you can use to propel you forwards through the darkness energy. So what I'm trying to get at is within negative energy, you have to overcome fear or an aspect of fear and doubt and everything that associated with negativity. How do you pursue that?
Yeah. I mean, we love this, like the duality. We live in this world of duality, right? Yeah. Where it's like, oh, that's negative, that positive, and whatever. But at the core of it, everything just is. Everything just is. Even though
Nice.
we often like, and here's the thing, the funny, I mean, this is the crazy part. Consciously, we kind of like holding into that positivity. We want something good. I'm a nice person and all that. But unconsciously, because of the fear that we have been indoctrinated in, we respond to fear more. Even when we're looking at whatever marketing strategies and all that, if even besides even the whole business, let's just look at the religious system. You know, the religious system is often like, oh, you're gonna be punished, you're gonna go to hell and all that and all that. And this kind of like the fear is kind of like, oh my god, I have to go to church, I have to be a nice person, I have to be,
Mm.
But as much as we are afraid of something, then we're doing things from I have to. I don't have any choice. We are not free. We don't like it, but at the end of the day, I have to. It's the energy that it's not expansive, right? So when we look at like everything just is, of course, we've been like, when I look at the world and for many generations, we've been creating from fear, of which now that is coming to an end. The question is, are we willing? Because when we create from fear and desperation, like we're running away from something, we're going to create more of the desperate thing. It's a different frequency when, for instance, you are in a relationship and the relationship fails, and then because you are even you are not connected to yourself, you're not comfortable with being with yourself, and it's kind of like, and also a relationship gives you a certain status or stability or whatever that you're looking for, you know then you're gonna be like, oh, I have to find someone, I can't be alone, I'm getting old, all these things that we have to say. I should, the shooting of ourselves. So if you create them from that, it's not expensive, you are afraid, and that means you're gonna settle for anything that is gonna come through, because it's kind of like this has to happen. And when you settle for whatever that's gonna come through and you settle for less than you deserve, you're gonna receive less than you settle for. That is assured. And it's different when you are creating from inspiration. I'm inspired. I'm led by the desire. You are going towards something. You are not running from anything. You are not looking at your back to say, what's going to happen? Is that thing going to fall on me or whatever? So that's like the different thing. And when you're talking about the power of the negative energy, it's not like the negative. I mean, it plays a role. I would say that it's uncomfortable but productive. It plays a role in our life, but the power of it is, that's also us. That's also us. But if it's aspects of ourselves that we have pushed in the shadows, then we are being called to connect to this aspect, to shine the light. When I'm talking about a freedom illuminator, it's not like just freedom illuminator. I'm illuminating the shadows. And you find that in the shadows, it's aspects of yourself that were not accepted. It's aspects of yourself that you may have suppressed or denied because they were not accepted. And because you wanted to fit and you wanted to belong, you had to put that aside and then pretend that you are something else that you're not. But the truth of it is, you get frustrated, you get depressed because you are not in alignment with who you are. You are creating life from the templates that you inherited and how everybody else wanted, but you are not coming from your own true expression. So when you shine the light in that shadow, you realize that this is who I am, and I'm this fucking great person, so you integrate that. And when you look deep, you realize that, there's some treasures here. Even though I was afraid of it, I was afraid of my gifts. Even when it comes to whatever spiritual gifts that you may have, you realize that these are the things that we have pushed because we've been conditioned to believe that negative and all that, depending on whatever background you have. I'm coming from, my parents are very religious, and at the same time, they're fucking connected. Like, I'm coming from first line of healers. So for many generations, they ran away from who they are. Because even when I was a child and I was sharing about some things, they were like, you have been called to be a traditional doctor, so you may have to go to church early and get baptized and just be there. Because, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I was not aligned with the whole thing, somehow in my soul, because our soul always knows the truth. I was not in alignment. Then what did that lead to? Like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna be drinking and all that. But while I was busy enjoying every weekend like any child, going out, drinking and all that, I was still connected. And for me, when I knew that I'm somehow disconnected, I'll know through my dreams. When I take long without dreaming, I know that I'm fucking so long gone. So I'll
Mm.
just take a break. Like, I'm going to take some time first and be with myself. And then I'll see where it's going to go, because I would ask questions and they'll come through, whether they were coming through my dreams or something like that. That is the way that I knew that there is something bigger that is happening, bigger than me. Because even when it comes to dreams, I'll have a dream, like I started playing with this when I was young. I'll have a dream, and then I'll be like, I wonder what happened, because I feel like it's not complete. So I started playing, and I'll be like, when I go sleep, I'll be like, can we continue from where we stopped? So who could, I mean, I did that for 3 fucking days and we kept on continuing. I was like,
Oh,
this shit
nice.
is crazy. So I didn't need anyone to tell me that you are right or wrong, because even when my ex-husband now told me that you're flipping crazy, this thing does not exist, you are just delusional and all that. I love you, but I know my fucking truth.
Yeah,
And
you
if
believe in
I
the power of
stay
your
with
mind,
you,
don't you? You
exactly,
can.
if I stay with you because I want to sustain this marriage and follow whatever that you're saying, I'm gonna resent you, because I'm gonna die one or the other, and people are dead in the sense of they just exist but they're not fully alive.
Hmm.
And that happens when you are not in alignment with your truth.
Yeah. So, so have you sort of always sort of thought and been this sort of um, like this sort of person since you were very young? Like you said, you sort of knew,
Yeah,
you've known from a very young age that you sort of wanted to go down this path.
yeah.
So have you always sort of practiced like this African quantum healing? So from my knowledge, it's basically you sort of it is based on frequencies, and you sort of like you do like drums, or you create a rhythm and you say sort of chants. I'm not sort of clued up on it fully, but I did read up on it, like how I don't really know how much to say. How does it work basically?
Yeah, I mean, that's
So I can
let's just look.
I can kind of see I can see it working. I can understand it, because if I've felt under the weather, for example, and I make like a nice, like, surround myself with like nice frequencies, nice music, and nice auras and stuff like that. I can sort of make myself feel a bit better without taking any modern day medicine. So I do believe that it's a it's a very suitable source of healing, I guess. But yeah, how does it sort of, like, what is it, like, how?
I love that question. And here's the thing. Let's just talk about like African ancient way of healing. That was where there's this whole drumming. And I still remember the first time that I felt like I was sort of welcome into this work, which was like an initiation beyond me. I was just like in a meditation and I just got into this trance, and I started hearing the drumming, all that was happening, and people were ululating. It was like a big celebration around me. I was like gone for some time and feeling all this, and it was like and welcome into back to me, basically.
Hmm.
That was like the celebration that happened when I accepted this work. And that's like how it has been done, and all the tools, drumming, whether it's using all the plants and all that, and also using the bones to get the divination of what is really going on and all that. I mean, I received all these things energetically. I received fucking everything, but not in a physical reality. So I'm here. I'm like, okay, fine. How do I move on when I'm working with people? How do I get them? And it's kind of like all of that, the crystals, the plants, everything, it's within you.
Hmm.
And that's just the thing when we get to these times to realize that that is the rhythm that is within us. All those frequencies are within us. So when I do my healing, I do the healing through my body. I have all that within me. So I step into somebody's energetic fields and I get to know what is happening, in the sense of what is your fear, where do you have the pain? And even, for instance, we may talk about somebody else, and then when you mention that name, I know how you feel about that person. It's kind of like one or the other, I become you in that
Hmm.
moment when I'm working on you, and I get to know whatever entities and all that, the fears, the pain, where does that go? It's kind of like also interesting because it's kind of like also following a map, when your body takes me, the inner child and all that. So it's magical because I get to connect with like the emotional, mental, astral, metaphysical part of that. And when I say, this is why when I say human MRI, I get to really scan your whole body to see what is going on, like all those emotional bodies and all that. And also by removing that psychically, I do that surgery, but without open you is like what is done out there. This is why when I've worked with people, who came through and they had cysts, and then maybe after 4 weeks or something like that, they go back to check in with their doctors, and all the thing is gone just like that. So that's just the magic of this word. And also, even like for instance, when I do that, it's kind of like, you know, first thing, for you to have the desire, you desire something, there is something that is kind of like, I know there is something here, that is, it's kind of like that higher self that is imprinting that in you. It's already in your energetic fields, whether you, whatever you desire. And the big thing is taking out the shame, which is, shame comes with that sexual energy where you are, we are ashamed of whether you want a Lamborghini, whether you, whatever you want, you know, we are afraid of even embracing, talking about what exactly that we want. We all, especially in the spiritual communities, we want to decorate it because it's kind of like more, it's like human peace. And also, we know, like kind of like the separation of the physical and the spirituality, like as if when you have some physical stuff, they're going to take away from your spirituality and all that shit, you know. But when you embrace all of that, this is what I want, and you know how it feels when you have that, that's the way, that's the only way that you get to create, you know. But if there is a discordant, whether it's resistance, whatever block that is there, you're not going to have that. So when I remove that, it's kind of like you, that veil of delusion and disconnection from yourself. I've had people who, even for them, the way they connect and the way they receive the energy, the codes, the spiritual gifts and all that, when I do this, they connect to themselves at a deeper level. They know their truth. Because if you are creating your whatever, your life from the templates of your ancestors, of your mother, father, whoever that you wanted the love from the most, the society, you are not creating from your truth. And people often go do the work, and they're creating from the templates of what they inherited. Just starting with the name. What is your name? What is your surname? For how many generations has that been there? And what has been happening in your lineage? You know, so our name is like a big part of our identity. And in my native language, identity card is called Omang. And Omang direct translation is, who are you?
Hmm. Who are you? I'm Josh. um, so in essence, you're sort of saying like, in order to sort of embody your purpose, you have to first embody yourself and actually truly like align yourself with your purpose. Um, with that, yeah, what would you say your, or what would you say life's purpose is?
Finding you. Honestly, there's no higher purpose than that. The life's purpose is us finding ourselves, you know. And I always say this just to add into that. The level that you are not fully free is the level that you are not fully joyful, and that is the level that you are not fully loving. When you find you and embrace who you are, that is kind of like freedom. And when you are free, you can be fully joyful, and that is the level that you're going to be able to love other people. Otherwise, when you are not yourself, when you have not found yourself, that means it's kind of like, I mean, I've been there where I thought I was loving, but the truth of it is I was loving from, here's the thing, even like the flipping crazy thing. Here I was, I mean, I had my own, we all have our own addiction, our own weaknesses and all that. But for me, seeing someone who is broken, and I'm like, this person has potential. Okay. So I'm coming in the rescuer mask. You know, I was wearing that rescuer mask of, yeah, I'm going to help you, you know, because I know what is possible. And I was reading that timelines. I'm going to help you. I know what is possible. But on the other hand, the hidden thing is kind of like, when I've helped you and you become this great being that you are and your life flourish, then it's kind of like, I'm going to be your queen. So it's more like I had to earn being that queen. I had to earn that love, you know. But what if I felt, and I don't care what is happening in your life, you know, whoever that you're listening, if at all you loved yourself enough and felt worthy, you wouldn't be in situations that you are in. And men also have this thing of, they're often intimidated by somebody who knows who they are, who own that shit. They're intimidated by that kind of woman, even though they want that woman. But it somehow intimate because they want somebody who can feed their ego. So often I find that men will marry somebody who is, like they say, I want to be respected and all that. So they're gonna marry somebody who feels a little bit less than they are, or who can even provide less than they are. They provide. And it's quite interesting because as I'm saying men. Unfortunately, we're in the times where it's not only men. There are women who are, I mean, I've had women just tell me straight, I'll never date somebody who earns more than me, you know. And men also don't feel comfortable dating a woman who earns more than them, like majority. You know, when you look at like a good percentage, they don't, because they feel like they are not men enough, you know. So somehow there should be something about this person that kind of like feels less, so that this person can more see you like a king, praise you and all that, you know. And the thing is, it's coming from a little bit of not feeling worthy somehow. So you want somebody who's gonna praise you so that you can feel like a king and all that. But when you give that to yourself, when you know that's who you are, a king won't attract a slave. And it's not about, like I said, it's not about like the hierarchy and all that. It's kind of like, I've got a kingdom to run,
Mm.
and I can run a kingdom when I'm with my queen. Because you want somebody who can hold you into your shit, who can call you out onto your shit, especially if you are all about growing. So at times when you resent somebody, kind of like, oh, this person is always telling me this. Maybe they just want you to be who you are meant to be, you know, so that the king or the queen in you can emerge, you know. But if you don't want that, you're gonna feel like whatever and all that. But at the same time, it also comes from whoever that is, from what space are they coming through? You understand? Because if I'm coming through with, let me just say, I want somebody, I mean, I attracted a lot of alcoholic people. It's not like it was intentional, but somehow I found myself there. And only after doing some work, being called on my shit to say, what part of you has a problem with this man's drinking? And then I got this download of, you are looking for your father in them. And the
Okay.
fucking mind blowing thing is, I was not even like older when my father was like in his drinking years. The part that I experienced was his illness, which was caused by the alcohol, like vomiting the blood and all that. Like there's a lot of damage that was done internally. That's what I experienced. The whole drinking part, I don't know much about it because I was very young, you know. But at the end of the day, I was drawn to men who had alcohol addictions and all that, you know. And that was like me, who was looking for me, because at the end of the day, my father is a big part of me, and I was daddy's girl. So that's the love that I also knew. At times when you find yourself in, it's kind of like, what's the kind of love that you knew? I want this emotional available partner, whatever shit. Are you emotionally available? Because you're gonna attract people at the level that you are at, you know. So when I was looking for that, it was like me wanting to rescue my father. It has nothing to do with that man. And because again they were drinking, I hated who they were being. You can't help someone that you are flipping judging. Let's
Mm.
just start with that. The key thing when it comes to relationship is communication, but communication cannot happen if it's being filtered by the judgment that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You've got to. It's got to be open and ready for sort of like almost uncomfortable conversations to be had in order to progress. You know, if you're in a relationship with someone, you want them to level you up, and you want to level them up. You don't want, you don't want to just remain stagnant or bring each other down. You want to help raise each other up, and you don't want to associate with someone that's not providing you with that great positive energy to help you level up to the next level, to wherever you want to be. To just understand, that they're a part of you as much as you're a part of them. If you're having a relationship like that, um, and yeah, I feel like communication is really important. Um, and yeah, you went. I'm trying to pick that apart a little bit here. You said quite a lot. You mentioned how looking at sort of finding someone that like fixes past events almost. And then if you're looking at this other person through the lens of you're trying to fix something else that's happened in your life, then that's not truly looking at them, is it? You got to be true to them and true to yourself. Like you said, without the judgment. Looking and conversating with these people. So is that sort of is that a use sort of let's say if someone is struggling with relationship issues and they're constantly attracted to these people that aren't that aren't great for them, that provide them with issues and judgment. Is that sort of what you try and sort of help people with, so overcoming that kind of thing and pursuing sort of successful relationships, I guess you could say.
Yeah, because no matter how much, when you look outside your life and people, how much you judge them and all that, the truth is that the level that we judge ourselves, and we may not be aware of it because it's unconscious, but that's like what we do into ourselves. And I'm gonna somehow dive deep into this whole, my relationship with my boyfriends, fathers of my children, ex-husband, and all that, because it was just that. I was like, at first it's kind of like when we meet and we're just gonna be drinking together, it's all fun. But then when I realized the level of the addiction is kind of like, ooh, I don't want to be with this kind of man. And at times it can be, oh, like you are playing around with your potential. I know what you're capable of and all that. And just a lot of things that you can look at, and you judge. And when you're talking about judgment, we often think judgment is like negative things. No,
Mm.
even when it comes to projection, we project positive stuff. When I like, I used to fall in love with potential. Oh my god, I've lost how many times I've fallen in love with potential. I know what this guy is capable of. He can really do it. Like, I'm rooting for him. And what was happening is I was being called to my own potential. At times I would look at somebody and be like, because I mean, everything evolves. Our confidence evolves, our level of authenticity evolves, everything evolves. The confidence that I have, I've always been a confident person, child, but the confidence that I have is different from then. My level of authenticity is different. I can talk about the religious stuff and all that without being afraid of offending people, because I'm not saying the religion is wrong. I'm saying the whole thing that it was created from, anything that actually induces fear, is not in alignment. Because even if it's something is not in alignment, but anything that comes through with, let me say that people who are also claiming to be fucking healers, and they're coming through with all the whole bullshit, or there is something that is happening to you, somebody wants to do something. Fuck that shit. Just tell that person, fuck off. Because there is no someone who is a healer who can come and tell you that, oh, your ancestors are talking to me. What ancestors are you connecting to? Because I've got ancestors who are bad asses in the dark. I have got ancestors who are bad asses in the light. So if you're gonna go search for my ancestors who are in the dark, suit yourself. And most of it is also just bullshit lies. So is what is being said really elevating? Even if somebody is a psychic, if let me say I help people 20 years ago, while I was in my own fears and all that, I would have told you about, that would be true. I would have told you about all the fearful stuff and all that, because that's where I was at. But the moment I realized that, oh, these are just shadows, and it's not about that person, it's just like me. I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing myself in all these other people, even these people that I hate. But at the end of the day, it's the level that I hate myself. So the space that, the more we have integrated all these aspects of ourselves, the more we can hold a greater space for other people. So the space that we hold for ourselves, for our like the people that we are leading, for our children, is the space that we have. If I'm judging myself because I've been judged as a child, guess what? I'm going to be parenting from that level. So when I look at it, whether it's authenticity, if you are pissed off like, oh, these people are just inauthentic, my friends are just inauthentic, maybe you're called to a higher level of being authentic, because authenticity is not a strategy, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs. It's not like, oh, just be authentic, then you'll attract your people and all that. It's a frequency.
Yeah.
And that frequency, when you embody it and you operate at that level, there are some people that maybe they've just logged out the moment they started listening, and they just had some shit. It's whether they got triggered, or it's kind of like whatever, they checked out. Or maybe you are sitting there but you are uncomfortable, but a part of you is leaning into that discomfort, because I believe a breakthrough happens in that, whether it's a trigger, it's like a breakthrough that is going to come through. And when we are open to being with the uncomfortable things, it's kind of like we are open, and there is something that is deepening in that, even when it comes, like you mentioned, uncomfortable conversations. you know we are two different people. So if I'm whole and I meet you and you are whole and we come together to say we are partners, let me tell you something. It's not gonna always be all roses and all that, although there's gonna be all those orgasmic creations and all that. But at times we're gonna have our shadows facing each other. How are we gonna deal with this? Are we gonna be comfortable bringing them through, accepting that, being responsible, and see how we're gonna go ahead and deal with our shit so that we can elevate each other? So if I'm afraid, I'm coming from, like, I'm hiding my stuff, I'm gonna be focused on your shit because I don't want to deal with my thing, right? So every time when there's a conversation, a conflict, or something that is arising, before you can say, oh, he's a narcissist and all that, what part of me needs to be seen here? Where am I not being authentic with myself? Where am I not respect? Oh my God. I felt disrespected in so many relationships, and rightfully so. If you are a mother, you give birth to your children, you get to be a single parent, the other person is busy doing what they're doing, and then they show up when they show up because I was down, go to court, take my children, like, have that judicial injustice, my children being taken away from me. I felt disrespected. I felt ashamed at the same time, because as mothers, we are esteemed by our children. So there's kind of like a lot of shit that can go on, and it's all true. I'm not taking away from the abuse that happened, the betrayal that happened, the rejection or abandonment. It's all flipping true. But at the end of the day, is, what do you want to serve? Do you want to serve the victor in you or the victim in you? Do you want to own your power? You want to give it to those people? You understand? So we get to choose in every moment to say, fuck you, I love you, but I'm not going to let you dictate what happens with my life. And it's easier to hate. When somebody does something to you, they cheat you, it's easier for you to turn your back and say this bitch and call people names and all that. But
Yeah,
what I can
definitely.
tell you is, what is hard is to love. This is why people are saying love is painful. Love is not painful. What is painful is loving somebody who is not willing to be with you. That's the painful thing. But at the same time, it's liberating, because when you anchor in that love, you are creating a space, a tone, that in my next relationship, the only thing that I'm settling for here is love.
I think that's a really good note to sort of wrap this whole thing up. To be honest, in sort of one word or one phrase, how would you advise someone to help them ensure that they align their life, their purpose for maximum impact?
Who are you choosing to become?
Who are you destined to
That's just a
become?
question. Who are you choosing to become?
Who are
I
you
mean,
choosing to become?
yeah, because we can say all sorts of things. You flipping know what is happening. I won't be there, but you are up at 3 a.m. You feel lonely. You have like certain things that you do at shame. When you're talking about sexual energy, you feel like, oh, when it comes to you making love with your partner or whoever, that one night stand or whatever, maybe there's a part of you that feels like, oh, I don't know, I don't want them to look at me because I'm not sexy. Switch off the light and all. I mean, you know how you feel. But the question is, who are you willing to become? Because whatever decision and choice that you are making, it's affirming that whatever that is happening in your life.
Thank you. Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, that was really cool. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, and I hope everyone has enjoyed this podcast episode. And I will talk to you soon.